back to the Jon Krawczynski Show. He's Jon Krawczynski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune at TalkNorth.com. This is our basketball show at TalkNorth.com. We are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio, and the show is presented to you by Giggly THC Beverages and Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. And we do want to thank Aquarius Home Services.
Scott for Aquarius. Summer's all about fun, not flickering lights and faulty plumbing. From fixing that runaway toilet and not so hot water heater to installing generators for whole home backup power, Aquarius has your back. Right now, get $98 off any electrical or plumbing repair. Fast, friendly, and ready to rescue your summer from household chaos. Aquarius. Local, trusted, family-owned, and earning the right to be recommended. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com.
Hi, everyone. This is Dawn Mitchell with a reminder. Please tune in to our podcast every week, Dawn of Sports. You can find it on Talk North Podcast Network.
All right, John, we're going to talk a lot about ownership and where this franchise is right now, but let's start with probably the most exciting thing that's happened last week, and that is our first glimpses of Baron-Jay. He's been pretty spectacular.
He has, and you always put all the caveats out for Summer League and, just take this in stride, all of these things. But I think we can start with this sort of perspective on it, is that when you draft an 18-year-old from France who's only been playing basketball for 4 years, the implication is that this is going to be a project, that this is going to be a long-term type of a thing, that you hope in a couple of years he's going to be ready to contribute at some sort of level, but it's going to take a while. And I think still all of that, of course, is true. But the thing that really does stand out is how comfortable he looks on a court with NBA players playing the game that he just picked up when he was 14 years old. The fluidity with which he moves, the understanding that he seems to have playing defensively, the instincts, and just kind of all of the little fine motor things that, can be very difficult for players of his size and his lack of experience. He seems to really have a lot of that down. And so I was, just really struck by and taken with kind of a lot of the potential that you see there. And maybe the idea that, hey, this kid might not be as far away from being able to help on the court as we may have thought.
Do you think he could contribute this year in the NBA?
So what the Wolves have said is that if they needed him, he could play defensively right now. And I don't see anything to argue with that. I think ideally, of course, he is sort of sprinkled in, in some garbage time minutes and gets a little bit of time here and there. And he just is able to spend most of this season acclimating himself to a new country, learning the language better, all of the things that need to happen to kind of ensure some long-term foundation is built. And maybe just kind of gives him something to have underneath him to stand on for the rest of his career. But from what I see right now, if, God forbid, Julius Randle, Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert gets injured and misses some time, I could see him being able to come in and at least be impactful or a contributor defensively. And, I'm sure there are some offensive things that he would have to learn and take on the chin and get kind of pushed around and things like that. But man, you watch the way that he tracks shots to be blocked. You watch the way that he is being very, very aggressive, grabbing rebounds, the way that he runs the floor. Those things look like they will translate fairly early if you need them in this coming season. And then you worry about all of the other things as they come. But yeah, I don't think, Jim, that if they were to need him for 12 minutes a night for a stretch, that he would be completely over his head. At least defensively, it looks like he could play right now.
in the modern era of sports, everybody in our business and every fan thinks they're something of a draft expert. And we have all the philosophies about you got to take the best player. No, you got to take somebody who fits, helps you win now. How has Connolly threaded the needle in terms of wanting, it almost feels like every player he takes, Dillingham, the two centers this year, it's almost like, okay, this is the successor for Mike Connolly. This is the successor for Rudy Gobert. How much does he think that way? And how much does he go with the old school scouting philosophy of sometimes you got to take the best player?
Yeah. So for this one in particular, Jim, I do think that this is the guy they wanted. And we hear that all the time, right? We hear, we tracked him. He was much higher on our board than where he fell and all these things, but doing a lot of reporting about the process of drafting him, about their scouting and all of that. I do think that they entered the first round draft night hoping that he would be there and trying to make it happen. They even, I've reported that they tried to make some calls to trade up to get him. And he was always the target, whether they were at 17, whether they were, in the high teens. I think that this was a guy that they really, really liked. But to your point, Matt Lloyd brought that up in the post-draft press conference that we had. And he said that, now they have sort of developmental, young, promising players at each position on the floor to learn from these veterans and to hopefully eventually succeed them. And so I do think that, they were looking at depth at each position. And this one, depth at center was an issue for them. I think they knew that Luka Garza was probably going to move on, and they knew that Rudy is getting older. And so they had to have some other kind of plans in place going forward. And so Baron-Jay represents, that he's the Rob Dillingham for the bigs. And so then you have Ant, and you have Jaden, and you have Terrence Shannon, and you have Jalen Clark, and you have like just this whole kind of young core of players to look at and develop and hope that eventually, they are ready to take over when a player prices himself out or ages himself out of this roster. So I do think that there's some deliberate motive behind some of these picks. And it's not just that we're at 17, this guy was at 14 on our board, and so we're taking him regardless. Because the other thing that I've mentioned before, Jim, is that they were on the board when they got to the board. There were other players available, like Walter Clayton Jr. was a guard. Like there's some well-known. Yakashonis was a guard, arguably at a position of need for them, at point guard, and so they could have gone another way too. But one is they love Beringer, but they also, I think they also did want to make sure they were fortified with young, developing talent at every level of the roster.
By the way, is it Baron-Jay or Beringer? I've heard announcers use both.
It's Baron-Jay.
Baron-Jay.
Yeah, is the French pronunciation. I'm going to botch it a million times.
Me
but
too.
Yes. What I have said, what I have heard, and picked it up is everyone needs to know it is Yovan. It is not Joan. He does not like Joan, the American version. So fans, just if you see him on the streets of Minneapolis this summer, which I'm sure you will, say hello, Yovan. Do not say Joan. That's a sticky point for him. Yovan
Baron-Jay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. I think. Yep.
As close as we're going to get, and apologies. We want it's just my personal incompetence in pronouncing names. It's not any kind of an insult. No, and I'm sure. And if he's the kind of player they think he's going to be, we'll get very good at pronouncing his name. Let's talk about Matt Lloyd. Let's talk about Summer League itself. If you have any more intel on Baron-Jay, let's get into all that. First, I want to tell you about this. Make sure it comes up on the camera. Maybe it won't. Boy, technology is just so much fun. Anyway, This is the variety pack for Giggly THC beverages. There's a blueberry lemonade, pineapple mojito, blood orange margarita, and raspberry ginger mule. And the flavors sound a little different because they are different, but they all taste good. I drink them all. I had one last night. And, we get talking points to hit. You can get them at Quick Trips. You can get them pretty much any place you get any other beverages. You can order them at giggly.com. Use a promo code TALK. Giggly North, Giggly North to get you up to 50% off your first order. After that, you can just go on social media. You'll find other promo codes. But, it's real fruit juice, 0 trans fat. It's low sugar, fruit juices, ashwagandha, ginseng, incredibly healthy, tastes great, and you'll wake up feeling fantastic the next day. It's just, so I would get the variety pack. Or get the variety pack and teas. That's what my wife and I order. We just bought this pack the other day. It just makes your life better. You sleep better. You're more relaxed. No hangover. You'll wake up feeling great. You'll wake up feeling refreshed. It tastes good, and it's a lot of volume. One thing I don't like about cocktails is you make a really good cocktail. It's like 3-4 fluid ounces, and it's really easy to drink them fast and get yourself a little bit of trouble. This is 12 ounces. You put it in a big glass of ice. It ends up being like 15, 18 ounces of liquid. You can take your time drinking it. And again, it'll taste great. You'll feel great. Highly recommend it. Giggly.com, promo code Giggly North. Also want to hear from John on Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
Yeah, Jim, if you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with 2 great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
So, before we get to other stuff, probably more pressing stuff, I'm just intrigued by Matt Lloyd. He's a really good guy. He's been around the league. Tim Connolly hires him. He ends up handling, post-draft speaking duties. Just what's his role in the organization right now?
Yeah, I mean, he's really, really important. The way that front offices are structured these days, you generally do have a president of basketball operations that is sort of the highest level. But then you have a general manager who is a little bit more in the day-to-day grind of things. But I think that, one of the big things that Tim Connolly has done with this front office and coming in and sort of trying to address a lot of the angst and a lot of the paranoia that frankly runs through the Timberwolves executive ranks because of all the turnover over the years. He's really tried to bring in people who can kind of just settle everyone down and are really good at interacting, at communicating, at having discussions and addressing things. And Matt Lloyd is that. He's an incredibly positive influence. He is always sort of trying to bring some energy and some light to the proceedings. And so his ability to get everyone feeling good, feeling like they don't have to always be looking over their shoulder, but trusting each other is kind of invaluable in the in the Wolves kind of hierarchy. I wrote about Chris Finch during the playoffs and about sort of the ups and downs of his season and how he felt a lot of the pressure to get this team to come through and how he was struggling. And he mentioned in the piece that kind of one of the breakthroughs he had was maybe January-ish, when he was really grinding and really struggling to kind of get a handle on things. And he was kind of coaching a little bit almost too hard. Was Matt Lloyd came into his office and they had a conversation about things and just talked about the position, talked about where the team was. And Chris Finch said that Matt did an unbelievable job of just bringing some perspective to him in that moment and helping him relax a little bit in his position. And that really kind of did lead to, or at least contributed to the team really starting to play well down the stretch. So he has those vibes, things that happen, but he also is a really, really good evaluator of talent and kind of he has tentacles all over the NBA, just with relationships that he's built and with the ability to understand information, to get things that need to be done or need to be deciphered, make those happen. And so he does a lot for them. And, one other thing we can get into now is like, I did a story about Yovan Baron-Jay's the draft evaluation of him. And there was a point of right before the week before the draft where they were able to secure kind of one of these old school private workouts with Beringer to get in front of him and one-on-one and just work with him directly. And I talked to his agent, Jelani Floyd, and one of the things that Floyd mentioned about his trust in having a workout like this was that the relationships that he had with Tim Connolly and Matt Lloyd, and just that knowing that they're straight shooters, knowing that they're not going to use something like that just for intel and nothing more, that they were genuine in their interest in Baron-Jay. And so he greenlit this kind of last minute workout in Chicago that helped to solidify their evaluation. So things like that, relationship building, doing things the right way, that way, I think really does serve Matt Lloyd well and really kind of helps this organization get things done that they wouldn't get done otherwise.
So we know about Tim Connolly, we know about Chris Finch, and now you've told us about Matt Lloyd. Is there anybody else key to the upper level decision making that we should keep on our radar?
Yeah, I mean, they just lost. John Wallace was a big part of their kind of hierarchy and did a lot directly with Iowa. And he left to essentially run the Denver Nuggets. He and Ben Tenzer, they kind of have like this joint structure there. And Wallace is on the front end of it. And he's done a great job early with Denver, making some moves to get the Nuggets in position to make another run next season. So when he left, there's a little bit of void, but Dell Demps is a longtime executive coach in this league. He used to run the New Orleans Pelicans when Tim Connolly was there. And so he is a big part of the evaluation process in sort of like the kind of a hierarchy that they've established. It's kind of Tim, Matt, and Dell at the top of the org chart there. The one thing that Tim Connolly does try to do is he tries to give people underneath him power and influence and things like that. There's, people like, Josh Gershon. There's Tim's brother, Joe Connolly, is director of scouting, and he's really involved in evaluation and kind in those kinds of things. And, there's a lot of people that are in the front office, that are on the staff, that are doing great work and putting in a lot of work. Manny Rohan has been there forever as a sort of, cap guy and helps with contracts and salary cap and those kinds of things. And so there's just, there's just a lot of, there's a lot of people that all have quite a bit of influence in how decisions are made. And Tim Connolly does construct this environment where he encourages people to chime in. And Chris Finch is obviously hugely involved in that as well.
John is obviously in Vegas. Let's talk about the actual Summer League, what's going on in the games. Next, we do want to thank longtime sponsor, really our first big sponsor, TSR Injury Law. They sponsor so many things these days. They were gracious enough to come in early when John and I are trying to get this show rolling. They've been a big part of our success. I hope we're at least a very small part of their success. They're successful because they help their clients. If you're ever injured, call 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. I think TSR Injury Law was instrumental in keeping Naz Reid in Minnesota. That's the story I'm going to go with. How could Naz Reid leave the billboards and the ads? But seriously, we hope you don't need their help. If you need their help, call TSR time. I also want to thank Royal Credit Union.
It's time for change. Experience better banking and put your financial goals in motion with Royal Credit Union. It's time to get more from your checking account, upgrade your vehicle, or finally build your dream home. Royal offers the financial solutions you need and the advice you can trust to plan for what's next. Better banking is one change away. It's time to switch to Royal Credit Union. Get started at rcu.org/time. Insured by NCUA. Loan subject to credit approval. Equal housing opportunity.
And let's hear about Princeton's Liquors, John.
Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. We've been telling you about them for a long time now, and it's been appreciated because we like to have long-term relationships here at Talk North and with this show, and we love to have be involved with people embedded in the community. And Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove has been there for decades and decades. You go there, you get your bourbon, you get your craft beer. Those are their specialties, but you can get whatever you need there. You can get THC seltzers. You can get wine. You can get domestic beer. Whatever you want, they have it at Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Bill Princeton was an intern with the Timberwolves and Lynx back around the summer of 2000. He wore the Crunch costume. He is one of us to the core. And so if you're looking for stuff, you're looking for gatherings this summer, if you're looking for just something to have while you watch a summer league game on TV, anything like that, go to Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. They will take care of you, and tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you.
Thanks to all of our sponsors and all of our listeners. We really do appreciate it. So other than Yovan Baron-Jay, what are you seeing out of the summer league?
Well, I mean, one thing that you really love to see is that Terrence Shannon Jr. does not belong in Summer League. With these second-year guys who come in and after having a taste of the NBA, you can't make grand proclamations one way or the other, good or bad, generally speaking. But what you hope to have happen is that these guys come in and they say, well, he shouldn't be here. Like, he's good enough to just be with the roster and go forward. And Shannon, we have to remind people, he's 25 years old. Like, he is a grown man, and he's playing that way against much younger competition, mostly at Summer League. And he's bullying them, and he's getting to the basket. He's knocking, the last game that they played, he hit a bunch of threes, which is encouraging. I do think that, when you watch his shot mechanics, they look a little smoother than they were, during his rookie season. And so that's going to be really key for him going forward, because he is big, he is strong, he is athletic, he gets to the rim. Those are all attributes. But if he's really going to help make up for the loss of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's got to be able to knock down outside shots and give that spacing. And so game 2, especially against Denver, he shot the ball great and looks like a player that I don't know if he's going to play anymore in the Summer League, but I wouldn't blame the Wolves if they said, you know what, we've seen enough. We're just going to take him out of it. Talking to people about what they see from Terrence Shannon, what they've seen this summer is just an incredible work ethic. I think Alex Rodriguez was on the Hoop Collective podcast, and he was mentioning how, that Shannon is in the gym early every day. He's taken thousands of threes this summer to just try and get that part of his game down. He understands that there's a real opportunity for minutes here, and he's coming for him. So I think that's been really encouraging. Rob Dillingham has been a little up and down. There's been some turnovers. What I really am concerned about a little bit with him is that he's not making shots at the rim. And I think that's just going to be a challenge for him as a smaller player, and he's got to be craftier and figure that out. But I really love what I've seen from him from an aggressiveness standpoint, defensively, from a playmaking standpoint, and looking for others to get other people involved. And so those are two kind of big things that have stood out. Jalen Clark also looks really, really good defensively. Offensively, still working on things, but in terms of the minutes for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, it really does look like they have, 3 guys that can give you all sorts of different options, and I think they're going to feel good about that spot coming out of this Summer League.
How's Leonard Miller look, and is he even a factor in potential future rotation minutes?
Yeah, I mean, he's putting up big numbers, Jim. He's getting points and rebounds, and that's good, but it has not looked great in terms of making a real impact on winning games so far. And I want to watch him more the rest of this summer league, just to see how he's getting these stats and how he's piling them up. But, Kevin Hansen talked after his first game just about game plan discipline, about understanding where he's supposed to be, and what he's supposed to be doing. And I think that's been an issue that they've been trying to work through with him now for some time. And, you can see in when these two games have been played, sort of the difference. Like Baron-Jay has had some solid numbers, but when he's on the floor, you can see the impact that it has on the overall team and how much better they play. Whereas Miller has had bigger stats than Baron-Jay, but you just watch him get them and I just haven't seen how it's been, kind of really helpful toward winning in the same way. And so, he's certainly trying to make his mark and he's being aggressive, and that's a good thing. But I think he is sort of got an uphill climb to try and get any kind of minutes here, especially in a crowded front court that already has Randall, Reed, and Gobert, and then you just add Baron-Jay as well. I'm going to be interested to see sort of how they handle all of that going into this season, because there's not a clear path for him to get minutes right now. And what he's doing on the court so far has been solid, but not anything that is screaming to the Timberwolves like, you have to find a way to get this kid on the court.
Has Josh Minot been passed by a group of players, or is he still in the mix?
Well, he signed with the Boston Celtics in the offseason. Yeah,
I forgot about that. My bad.
Yep. No, it's all right. It kind of happened in, under the cover of darkness.
I think I might have been out of the country, but
yes, you were.
But I still should be paying more attention.
Yeah. But yeah, both with him and Garza, they are both like promising players I think have shown the ability to be really effective, but they both just were running into a problem of they had been here for multiple years and there was no real clear path to getting big minutes. And so, Josh Minot had a conversation with Tim Connelly after the season and said, hey, look, thank you for everything, but I need to go out and play. And so if you don't see that opportunity for me and you can kind of let me go, I'd appreciate it. And so Tim Connelly did the right thing. He said, okay, we're not going to stand in your way. We're not going to exercise our option. We're going to let you go do that. And he got a multi-year deal with the Boston Celtics. And the Celtics are in sort of a rebuild mode. So I think he does have a chance of getting some minutes. Garza definitely has a chance. He got with the Celtics as well. And I ran into both of them in Vegas, and they're really excited about just being in Boston and maybe, getting a little bit more of a defined role on the NBA court. But the cool thing is that they both also were watching Wolves games. They were hanging out with Wolves people after, in the casino at night and stuff like that. And so clearly there's no hard feelings that are involved, but yeah, it was time for both of them to try and move along and see if they could find a bigger role somewhere else.
All right, let's get to ownership discussion. First, though, tell us about True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute, truevision.com in Bloomington. Go down there or get online and get yourself a consultation set up and get in and get your evaluation done like I did. And, we've talked a lot about True Vision and what they do with LASIK surgery and making just life easier for yourself. One thing I don't think I've emphasized enough is how much more convenient and how much, less you have to deal with financially going forward after a surgery like this, because we're going on more than a year now. And now is the time where I would get in and get my eye exam and look at, trying to change my prescription on my glasses or my contacts and going through all of that expense and all of that hassle. And I don't have to do that because I have LASIK surgery, and there's just no more having to worry about the expense of glasses and contacts, and also just the overall hassle. I hated having to put it on the schedule, having to go in and take time out of a busy week and go in and see an eye doctor and go through all of the things that you have to stay on top of it. And with True Vision, they have taken all of that out of my life. So it's just easier that way, in addition to being able to wake up in the morning, not have to fumble for glasses and be able to see right away. So go to truevision.com, get yourself a consultation, and enjoy that part of it as well, of not having to deal with contacts, with eyeglasses, with the expense of it, and with the, yearly or biannual, trips to the eye doctor that you have to do when you don't have, LASIK surgery to take care of all of that. TrueVision.com, True Vision in Bloomington.
Also, I want to offer big thanks to Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
SGLambchops.com is the place to go. You put in the promo code JONK20 and you'll get 20% off all of their casual wear at SGLambchops.com. It is, I was wearing one of their t-shirts yesterday when my wife and I went for a birthday dinner. And you just feel good with it. You feel comfortable. It's super high quality, but it's also something that you can wear out on the town for a dinner, for hanging out, for grabbing drinks in the North Loop. You can wear it at home watching the Wolves on TV in Summer League. Jordan Dye was out in Las Vegas this weekend, mingling with Wolves fans, being a part of this basketball community. These guys really do want to do more than just give you nice clothes. They want to be a part of everything that we're doing. Jordan has a pro-am team in the summer. And so, again, we just love to be involved with people like this who take on a role in the community and try and make it better and try and be a part of it. Lamb Chops Clothing does that, in addition to giving you ultra comfortable, ultra high quality, affordable, casual wear that you feel great in. So go to sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything you buy there.
Do we have a Twitter question today?
We do. We can get there. We can get that at the end.
We'll do it at the end. Yes. Yep. So take me into the conversations, the groups had with Alex and Mark, and that you've had. What have we learned in the last week or so?
Yeah, they had an event on Friday, in front of local and national media with a press conference, and some of it was sort of rehashing things that they have talked with myself about, with a lot of the local reporters about in the last few weeks, taking over control of the Timberwolves and Lynx. But one thing that kind of stood out from this weekend was, the clear messaging that they're keeping things the same with the basketball side of the operations for the Timberwolves and Lynx. Tim Connolly, Chris Finch, Cheryl Reeve, Nafisa Collier, Anthony Edwards. Like, both teams are well equipped to kind of go forward without major changes to staffing or to the roster. They're really competitive and they go forward that way. So the way that they are starting to look at putting their own fingerprints on these organizations is, what can they do on the business side of the operations? But, I know fans are super excited about the possibility of a rebrand for the Timberwolves and new uniforms and stuff like that. And Alex Rodriguez did say that, that they're looking at that. He didn't say exactly when it's going to happen, but he said that, quote, fans would be very, very excited and that they would kind of harken back to the KG era. Again, not specifically, but I think you're going to see some trees on some jerseys again. And, I know fans really, really enjoy that. And so they also talked about, they want to have Target Center have this kind of theater lighting that Madison Square Garden and Staples Center have for the Lakers and the Knicks. And so are these going to, win them championships? No, they are not. But they are efforts to sort of show that this is different, that they are listening to fans, that they are trying to engage on fan experience and what they want to do. And so there's just a lot of discussion on that. They spoke about trying to have more discussions with Kevin Garnett about kind of bringing him back into the fold. Again, not specifics about what their plans were, but they are engaging on that front. And they are also looking for a new CEO to replace Ethan Casson and to kind of be the business voice of this team, and of both teams, and kind of lead for what they want on that thing. Finally, Jim, one thing that was kind of cool was that they brought up this new partnership they have with a company called Jump, and it's going to replace the existing ticketing kind of in-arena fan experience module that everyone has with their Timberwolves and Lynx apps. And so this is where you're going to go to buy tickets, to sell tickets, to buy merchandise, to buy food at the arena and stuff like that. And one of the things that they are doing with it, one of the facets of it is, let's say you come to a game in January, you're sitting in the upper deck, and it's the fourth quarter of the game, the Wolves are winning or losing by a lot, and so kind of the lower deck, it starts to thin out. People are leaving, they're heading home. When those people leave their seats, they can put them up for auction on this app, and then you can bid live on moving down and improving your experience. And maybe it's a $5 bid, maybe it's $10, and you can move from the upper deck into the first couple of rows of the seat and watch the rest of the game from down there. And so they're trying to do things like that are making, use technology in a way that kind of leverages the in-arena of experience and improves it a little bit, and has little things like that are just kind of show that, hey, they're thinking about different things for the fan experience like that. And so that was just kind of a neat thing that got my interest while we were out there.
Everybody wants to see KG brought back into the fold, but he's a tough dude.
Yeah.
Are they going to have to make any special or unusual concessions or gestures to get this done?
Oh, well, I do think that it's definitely more of a negotiation or more of a discussion than simply, hey, Kevin, will you come back and have your jersey retired? Like, Kevin does drive a hard bargain on some things, and he has had ill feelings toward Glenn Taylor and toward the organization. And so I do imagine that something that will happen will be more than just a ceremony or a statue or things like that. I do think that there will be discussions about him being involved in some way, whether it is kind of interacting more with fans and with that sort of thing, whether it's working out with players or having some kind of voice that way. There's a lot to go over and to kind of figure out with him, beyond just what every fan wants. It just wants to see 21 up in the Raptors next to Flip and Malik. And so it's always been a little complicated that way. And so I think that, that kind of element is preventing them from saying, like, definitively right now, yes, his jersey is going to be up there. We're going to retire it on, January 12th against the Celtics or whatever it is. So I think those discussions are ongoing. What they do know that they made clear is they know how important it is to the fans that something like this happens. And so that's what they're trying to figure this out.
All they have to do is get them an Uzi and a Glock. And
load up those clips.
Yes.
Yeah. Joints with some silencers on them.
There you go. Yep. All right. Let's wrap up today's show with the Shepherd Goods and Laptops clothing line Twitter question of the week.
Yeah. This one comes from March Masness and said, Dillingham's lack of reps last year, while necessary considering they avoided the play-in by one game, seemed to have hindered him from taking a big leap. Will Finch give him enough rope to learn through his mistakes this year so he has a shot to be ready to contribute in May? And I do think it's a key question, and it has been something that you can see with the way that the Wolves have constructed this roster, that they are trying to facilitate that kind of experience and that kind of thing for Rob Dillingham. Because, as we talked about a little bit earlier on the show, when they were on at 17, there were a couple of guards that were very highly thought of. Walter Clayton Jr., Yakashonis from Illinois that they could have drafted as depth guys, as guys that if you were worried about Rob Dillingham at all, we're going to get these guys in here and help. And they didn't. They took Beringer. They have not been ultra aggressive in recruiting a point guard in free agency with their last roster spot. I still do expect them to add someone, whether it is, a Malcolm Brogdon, a campaign. I know Russell Westbrook has been mentioned in rumors, but I find it harder to see that kind of thing happen. But some kind of veteran presence, I think, will be added. But I do think that they really want to give Rob Dillingham a position on this roster to earn and to take advantage of. And so, if there's a bunch of other options, Chris Finch might, be inclined to bail on it early if it's not working. But I think the way it's set up right now is that, hey, Rob Dillingham's going to have to play, and you're going to have to maybe deal with some bumps in the road. But for the long haul, you use the 8th overall pick on him. You got to get him some minutes. And so I think that's the way that all of this is shaping up right now, is to give him as much opportunity as possible during the season. So hopefully by the playoffs, maybe he does have a better feel for things and he's ready to really kind of give you what they think he can give them.
Good stuff, John. Thank you. Enjoy Vegas. Don't combust.
It's all over. I finally came home, so I'm
Oh, you're
now.
back home. Okay.
Yep.
I was saying, you look like a really nice hotel room. So
yep. No, this is home. I'm thankful for it. It was a good time out there, but I was ready to leave as much long before the plane left the tarmac. So
yeah. So good stuff. Also listen to John on the Viking Update Show. It's going to be a fascinating Viking season, and it's about to get rolling here. Check out TalkNorth.com for all of our great shows. Pretty much the best experts on every topic. We have Mark Rose and we have Randy Shaver doing a high school sports show. Don Mitchell's interview show. Kat Perkins was our guest last week. Check it all out. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.